Welcome, Drink with James, episode 197. Look, I am feeling pretty good today, and I have a little confession to make here. I feel like the last few episodes haven't been that great. If I'm being totally honest, I haven't been in a great place. This has been a really difficult month. In general, right? The world is falling apart. Business is tough. I really don't like working from home. I feel really fortunate to be safe and to be down here in Florida where the weather has been beautiful and to be with my girlfriend who's been so great. But I thrive on the energy of other people, and I miss the office, and I just haven't felt great, and I haven't brought great energy to Drink with James. And today I was just like, I want to do a good job. I ask you guys to tune in every week. The last few weeks I kind of phoned it in. And today I was like, I want to do a good job. I want to do a good show. So I'm excited. I'm feeling good. And I think that I want to use this episode as kind of a line in the sand, right? We've been talking for 7 weeks now about coronavirus and what to do and how it's going to impact you and how to change what you're thinking about and how to continue to make money and keep your brand relationships and all these things. And a lot of it has been doom and gloom because there hasn't been a lot of good news, and there's still not a lot of good news out there. But the Four marketing team and myself want to kind of take a step and start thinking about what we're saying is the next 90. What's the next 90 days going to be like? The next 90 days are not going to be in any way normal. Not to say that they're going to be normal after 90 days, but the next 90 definitely won't be normal. But we could be getting to some kind of new quasi-normal in the next 90 days, and we want to talk you through that. And before we do that today, I don't want to take any questions. I'm going to do a little different episodes here, and I'm going to kind of focus on 3 different things. The first thing is, I think now is the time to focus on what can you control, right? You can't control coronavirus. You can't control the devastation to the economy, the fact that brands are cutting their budgets, the fact that consumer spending is down, there's 30 million people unemployed. You can't control any of that. You can't even control the algorithm, right? You can't control any of that, and for me, a control freak, it is overwhelming to look at everything in the world that you can't control and to feel frustrated by it, right? And to feel like this thing is happening to you, right? And my shift that I'm trying to make mentally is to get away from that feeling that this is happening to me and it's just happening, and to try and focus on the things that we can control. So what are a few things you control? 1, enthusiasm, right? I said that I'm coming to this with enthusiasm today. I'm trying to bring some energy here that I feel like has been lacking. And I think enthusiasm is the single most compelling thing when you are trying to convince someone of something, right? If you are trying to sell someone something, being enthusiastic, being passionate about it is hugely important, right? And so much of what is conveyed in what you do is in your tone, not the words you say, but in your tone and your body language, right? And it's getting yourself into a place where you're enthusiastic about things that is going to make your content better every single time, right? And the last month, I haven't been that enthusiastic, and honestly, I haven't tried to fake it, because fake enthusiasm, feigned enthusiasm is terrible, right? I don't think that works at all. But if you can get yourself into a mindset, there's this thing in sales. We talk about a portal, right? We talk about building portals. So an example is that when you walk into a conference room, right, you usually walk through a door. And I tell my sales staff, right, think of that door as a portal. And right when you walk in that door, you are a different person. You are enthusiastic. You are excited to talk to these people. You're excited about their product. You're excited about Four. You're excited about bringing those two things together. And that enthusiasm is infectious. And I think that for y'all, you have to try and get yourselves into a place where you're feeling enthusiastic and you're feeling excited about the things that you're doing, not posting out of boredom, not posting out of habit, but posting because you are really, really excited about it. That is something that you can control. That is, outside of the virus, and what that virus can do is your enthusiasm about your little slice of the internet, which is amazing. Like, it's hard to build that. 1,000 followers, 10,000, 100,000, a million. It is really hard to build that community, and you should be enthusiastic about it. A second thing you control is your craft, right? You can spend this time to work on your craft. I've really loved watching Crystal Bick, someone who we've talked about before, who I know has, always has really editorial imagery, is not a photographer herself, so she's quarantined and she's having to shoot by herself. She hasn't just given up. She's putting together more and more ambitious shoots every day, using self-timers, doing it herself, setting things up on a tripod. You can work on your craft. And look, I don't want to be that person who's here being like, hey, it's quarantine, go learn a new skill, go learn to knit, do this, fuck that. Like, I haven't felt like doing any of that shit, right? Because, again, this has been tough for me. I'm not trying to pick up a new fucking hobby. I'm trying to keep my business open. But your business is creating content, and you can focus on that. That is something that you can control. You can wake up every day and say, I'm going to do a better post than I did yesterday. Just that, just saying, I'm going to be a little bit better today than I was yesterday, hugely impactful over a period of time. Third thing that you can control is the relationship with your existing community. What is your relationship to your follower? You can control that. You can lean into that. This is the time not to think about a new follower, not to think about, what's the next follower you're going to get, but what's the last follower you got? What's the first follower you got? Focus on that. Check in on those people. That you can control. Look, there's a number of other things that I could talk about that are in your control, but I do think as a business owner, as an influencer, as a creator, in these times, stepping back and thinking about not what you can't control. I can't travel, I can't do these brand deals, blah, 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 I can't go to events. Think about what you can control can be really helpful. Number 2, we have focused, again, almost exclusively over what has changed over the last 2 months. Let's think about what hasn't changed. There's a lot that hasn't changed. And we can focus on that as well. What hasn't changed is every single time you hit publish, every single time you publish anything, it should be providing value to your audience. You are in service of your audience. If you are making a living off of this, you are making a living off of it only because you have an audience. You may think you're making a living off of it because you're talented, because you're interesting, because you have a unique point of view. You are wrong. You are making a living off of this because you have an audience that believes that you're good at this, that believes you're interesting, that believes you have a good point of view, right? And so you need to be in service of that audience constantly. That is absolutely number one thing. If I could drive home to every single person, it would be that. You are in service of your audience, and every time you publish, it needs to help them. We say inspire, entertain, or educate. Right? That is true. That is no different now that we are in these kind of strange times, right? That's the same. Something else that hasn't changed is that your dream brand, the brand you've always wanted to work with, that is one person probably. It's one person that you can build a relationship with. You can go out and you can work with that brand. You can build a relationship with them, and that hasn't changed. And right, brands may not have budgets right now, but they're just as willing to take an email, they're just as willing to hear from you and work with you, right? And your dream brand, the brand that might change your career. I can tell you this, when I got to shoot for Oscar de la Renta, my life changed. The whole trajectory of my life, yes, a lot of things happened, but the day I worked for Oscar de la Renta, it flipped a switch and everything else changed, right? And that collaboration, that opportunity for you, that is still out there, and a lot of times that's a single person who can make that happen for you. And you just need to go out and find who that person is and make sure they like you, build a relationship with them, and then do a kick-ass job on the work and you can change your life. And that's point number 3 of what hasn't changed, is that like, if you get this right, if you can build a following, I think you can meaningfully change the course of your life forever. I think that building a following will create meaningful, lasting change in your life, and that is so exciting. You're not talking about, oh, I can make a little side money, I can do this, I could go on nicer vacations, I could get free clothes. Having a following will change your life, and I think that if you think about it in terms of the marathon and not the sprint, and focus on that and say, I'm not trying to get to a point where I get to go to the Chanel show. Like, that's not my goal. My goal is I want my life to be on a different path, When I started publishing on the internet, the world was a very different place, but I was looking for a way to get out of the situation I was in and get into something better. And social and building a following did that for me. And I think that it can do that for all of you. And I think that is still very true. And even if you never want to go full-time as an influencer or creator, which I didn't, it can still change your life. You can still use that to get the job that you want. You can still use it to build relationships that you would never get otherwise. Having a following is immensely impactful. That has been true, and I think that will always be true. The third and last kind of point I want to talk about here is that we're in crisis, right? The world is in crisis, and it feels like it's standing still. And right now is the time for creativity, right? Right now is the time to try something new. I think I mentioned the quote before that, in crisis is opportunity. It's something like that. I think it's from The Art of War. There's another quote, I believe it's a political one, that says, never let a good crisis go to waste. There is opportunity. The things are being shaken up right now. The status quo is cracking, right? And that is your chance. If you've been waiting to break in, this is your chance. This is your time to be creative. I'll talk about what 4 has done, right? Like, we're experiencing a historic collapse of the economy. Everyone's scrambling to figure out what the fuck they're going to do. And I didn't think that in April we were going to make a lot of money selling our subscription product, which is not cheap. It's $15,000 to $30,000 a year. So I said, let's make it free. Let's just make it free. Let's give it away. Actually, I have to say that was Tim's idea, not mine, but I said that's a good idea. 900 people, 900 new brands signed up for that, right? That would be about it's well over $1 million of free accounts that we gave out for the month. Amazing companies, both big, huge companies that we've always wanted to work with, small, cool companies that I love, that I was so happy that we got to help out, right? And next month, when it's not free anymore, we'll see how many of those convert, how many people can we get to go from unpaid to paid. Regardless, we helped a lot of people. But right now is a time for creativity. Maybe this is a time for you to go out and say, I'm not getting a lot of new deals from brands right now. So, I'm going to say, hey, maybe you post on your Instagram and say, I'm giving away 10 sponsored posts next month. So not only is it like, there's a lot of influencers out there who are like highlighting small brands that they love in their stories or whatever, but maybe you say, look, I'm giving away 10 sponsored posts the next month. And if you're a brand and you've ever wanted to work with me, I know budgets are tight right now, I want to prove how good I am, reach out and let's do a campaign together for free. So it's not just, I'm going to talk about a brand real quick. No, reach out to me and let's actually do a campaign. Let's get the brand to brief me, get the product, work on it together, show them what it's like to work with you, I don't know if that will work, but this is the time to try that. That would be a weird thing to do 6 months ago. 6 months ago, I would have not said to give away what you do for free, say give 10 sponsored posts away right now. But right now, that could be an interesting way to bring in leads because people aren't spending money. There's not a lot of budget out there, right? And so this is the time to try something new. Have you always wanted to try video, but you haven't really done it? This is the time, This is the time because, if it doesn't work in a month, you could stop doing it. Nobody's going to really remember, but try and do more video. You want to launch a TikTok? Let's do that. Start your TikTok. You want to, do more Instagram lives? Do that. You want to get into skincare? I was talking to Jessica from Catch Me If You Can, a woman who has been to every country in the world, right? And I had a conversation with her. Obviously, she can't travel right now. That's all she does is travel. And we were talking about her getting into skincare. I just saw she did a skincare post. It was amazing. I thought it was so good. And she's got such a great skincare story as somebody who spends her life on planes, to be able to tell a story about skincare and about the kind of products that keep her feeling good while she's on the road is hugely impactful, right? So if you have been thinking about a new vertical, get into that. This is the time to try new things. And the world will go back to normal at some point, and it'll get harder to be creative and to try something new, and you'll feel, more pressure when you try that new thing. But right now, the world is your oyster, and it is definitely the time to experiment, and I absolutely implore you to take advantage of that. Look, that is all we have today. The sun is going down. This is my first Negroni of the evening. Next week is my birthday, which is happy and sad. I love my birthday. Unfortunately, this year we had to cancel the black tie party that I usually have. But I do think I'm going back to New York on Monday. I just don't feel right spending a birthday outside of the city. So I hope you all have a good week. I hope this is helpful. And from now on, 4 is going to try and talk about not so much the scary side of this crisis, but talking about what the world is going to look like over the next 90 days and hopefully giving you the tools to be effective there. As always, send some questions in, send me some feedback, send me a happy birthday message, whatever it is. I appreciate you guys. Cheers.